You're listening to Saturday Morning Media. And now, back to our show. Here we go.
Welcome back to the Grantcast. My name is Grant Baciocco, and it is a pleasure to have you listening to this episode of the Grantcast. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for downloading. And a big shout out to all the Patreon patrons who help make these podcast episodes possible. Well, today is August 21st, 2023. It is 9:36 a.m. in the morning, and I am looking out my window, and we just had Hurricane Hilary, or Tropical Storm Hilary, by the time it got here. I will say that we had a fair amount of rain. I thought it was going to be like pounding heavy rain, but it was not. It was just a constant rain, and there was definitely times where it was raining heavier than others. But even when looking at the map, when they were like, oh, this is the extreme part that is over you now, I was like, well, it's raining. And I'm not belittling it. I know that some places were definitely flooded out, and there's damage and all that kind of other stuff. So I'm not poo-pooing it. I was just expecting a little more. We did have, as I'm sure you heard on the news or saw on social media, we also had an earthquake during the tropical storm. And, just in California, we just do things a little bit better than anywhere else. Anywhere could have an earthquake, anywhere could have a tropical storm. But to have an earthquake during a tropical storm that used to be a hurricane, it's California for you. That is California for you. I've been trying to get more active in terms of walking around and moving and doing things. And my latest thing is I used to do a live stream every Wednesday night. This was for my wrestling gaming YouTube channel. If you must look it up, it's called solopromoter.com. Just go to solopromoter.com and you can see it. And what I've been doing now is I've just been going for a walk instead. I still do the live stream. I just do it on Saturday mornings because I get up on Saturday mornings, go for a walk then, and then come back and do the live stream. So now instead of doing it on Wednesday night, I just go for a walk on Wednesday night. And that has been good, just trying to get out of the chair. And because it's weird. I'm at a point in my life now where it's like I really feel things in terms of like, oh, things are pretty stiff as I got up out of this chair, like that kind of thing. So I definitely want to try and stay on top of that and still focusing on, losing weight. And speaking of that, I wanted to tell a story of something that happened to me the other night. It was about, I don't remember what night this was, and that doesn't matter. But I woke up just before 2:00 in the morning, and I had been having a dream where I was kind of like it was like a stone room, a circular stone room. Kind of like, you would, I guess, see in a castle or something like that, or imagine in a castle. And it was a circular stone room, and I just remember that I had this feeling that, not that the walls were moving in, but that it was a very small space. And I was in this room, it was an extremely small space, and that's why I woke up. Like I woke up going, what? Because I was in this small space and it just felt very claustrophobic. I have this weird thing where if you get, and this happens occasionally, but it's like if you're in a van or in, not necessarily an airplane, but in a car that has a smaller back seat and I can't like kind of stretch my legs out, it really ramps up my anxiety. Like even thinking about it gets me a little panicked. Like, I don't know what it is. I think like maybe like I feel if something were to happen, it would be harder to get out, because I can't move my feet freely. I can't move my knees freely. So anyway, it was kind of like that feeling. That's how I woke up. I had this feeling of like, I can't move. So I got up out of bed and I went and got a drink of water, and I wasn't breathing like, like panicked like that, but I just felt like I couldn't take a deep breath. Like I couldn't, like I would just get to a certain point and it would stop. And it was a really weird feeling. And then I was just like I sat there, I just kind of sat up in bed trying to take a deep breath, and I couldn't get I was breathing fine, but I couldn't get like a really deep lung full of air. So I even was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go outside, because if I just pop out the front door, the fresh night air will be the cure for all my wounds. And I opened the front door and I stepped outside, and it was like a really stuffy, muggy evening, like especially like almost at 2:00 in the morning. So I just, like, it was not helping. Like, it just felt like, man, I can't get this deep breath. So I came back inside. I stood in front of a fan, and that wasn't helping. And then I just cranked the air conditioning. Like, I just really cranked it up, and then I just laid as flat as I could on the bed and was just trying to take deep breaths. And eventually, like, it came back, and eventually I was able to go back to sleep. But anyway, that was kind of like panicked, and I was like, I don't know, I kind of feel this thing in my body that I'm overweight, and I can feel it in my breathing. I know that may sound weird, but I just feel like, oh, my face is fat, so it's hampering my breathing, and that's part of the reason why you can't get a deep breath. But this worried me enough that I did, as I was laying in bed, I did make an appointment with a doctor to go get it checked out, and they gave me a chest x-ray, and they said it was totally clear. They also gave me a lung test, I don't know if it's a lung capacity test. I'm not 100% sure what it's called, but they give you this little, it's like a like handheld electronic game with a blow spout on it, and you blow into it. And they said that I scored a 90 on that, and like anything troubling, they look at is if you're not over 80. And he was like, 90 is fantastic. Like, it's really great. So you're fine. So I'm thinking that it was just an anxiety thing, like waking up from that dream and then having that feeling. But anyway, yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, I don't want this podcast is going to become me complaining about medical things. It's not. But anyway, that was an interesting story that happened recently. And I don't know, interesting may not be the word, but it was a story of something that happened to me recently. And I thought that I would pass it along to you. And I guess we'll just wrap it up there. Why continue? Why go any longer when I have told what I am going to tell? So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Grantcast. Should be back soon. And appreciate you again listening, downloading, and a big thank you to all the patrons. And I will talk to you next time. This episode of the Grantcast was edited by Stephen Staver, who probably did the artwork as well. This episode was made possible by the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who've gone to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up a pledge for as little as $1 a month. Big shout out to all of our patrons, and a special shout out to our patron producers, Eve Cunning, Kathy Crawford, Tony Urbano, Brandy, David Akers, Paul, Scott Armstrong, and Vicky Sebring. Patrons at the behind-the-scenes level and above get access to videos of the recordings of these episodes, in addition to getting these episodes in advance. If you'd like to become a patron and receive episodes of the Grantcast before they are released, visit patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media today and set up your monthly pledge. And thank you for your support. This episode of the Grantcast is copyright 2023 Saturday Morning Media Grant Baciocco, executive producer. All rights reserved. www.SaturdayMorningMedia.com.
You've been listening to Saturday Morning Media.